Hello. Another week of not thrifting. I'll start out there. Because I have once again hit one of those moods where I have enough stuff. I need to use it. And I was tempted. I took off recycling today, and the recycling center is in the parking lot of the thrift store I frequent the most, where people know me, and when I don't show up for a while and I show up again, they say, "Where have you been?" But I didn't go in. I was thinking about it. I thought, what can it hurt? Just go in, just look really fast. But then I had a thought, and I don't usually have this kind of thought, that said, or you could just do the rest of the chores you have to do and go home and have time to do home things. And for the first time, that was actually appealing. Of course, all I did when I got home was, surf the internet, but still, I'm working on it. But I did do doll things last week. I decided I was going to start sewing doll witch hats again. I cut out a whole stack of them to make for Etsy, and this is the shape they're in. So I will hopefully get to these sometime soon and put them on Etsy, where if people like them, they can buy them, of course. Yeah. But kind of distracted by the witch hats, kind of not. I decided that I would use some cloth that I had sitting around for a while, just fairly small amounts of cloth that I knew would be just enough to make a doll dress with a bit left over. I decided I would make doll dresses with coordinated witch hats. And this is the first one I made. It is held on with elastic. That's why there is a hank of elastic in these. Oh, I see a bird on the porch out the window. Bird? I love picking my cats up and holding them to the window. There's birds there, they don't know what to think. So anyway, yeah. Someone gave me this cloth in just a box of random cloth a while ago. And it was only 1/8 of a yard wide and not the full width, and I knew there'd be just enough for a dress, and then I got the idea that I wanted to make the witch hat, and this is the one that I wanted to start with, making dress and witch hat together. And it's on the Lelia Chinese fashion doll on the Disney princess body. Well, Disney store body, articulated body. They're usually princesses. So that's her. That's the first witch hat I made. And then having this work out with this cloth I've been sitting on for a while because I wanted to use it for just the right project, that encouraged me to pick out some genuine vintage cloth I had. And I didn't have a lot of it. I'm pretty sure it was the skirt from a vintage Dress Me doll that I either thrifted or got in a lot on eBay a few years ago. Very distinctly vintage. It has flocked print on it, so it's very textural, and it's just... I didn't have a lot. It was a skirt from a doll. So when I cut the witch hat from that, basically I had just enough left to squeeze out some sleeves and then make the skirt. But I had to call in a solid color cloth for the inside the hat brim and for the bodice, which, as I've said elsewhere talking about this doll, I love mixing prints. I think everybody knows I like mixing prints. But I forget about solids. So the fact that I actually remembered to make a solid option for this it just amazed me because I forget about solids so much. But anyway, that's this, and MTM shoes always fall off. So I'm very happy with the way this turned out. There are some stains on this cloth, again, because it is vintage. And it was just on a doll that who knows what kind of disrespectful storage that doll was in. I actually managed to do a decent job washing the cloth, although I had to wash it a few times because the first time when I dried it, I hung it up to dry, and the red dye from the flocking just ran down it, making lots of pink stains. So the second time I washed it, I made sure to wash all that out, and then I let it dry flat in the bottom of a bathtub for a day. and that was enough not to have stains. There's still some, like I said, there's still some discoloration brown stains, almost look like nicotine stains. But I was able to cut around those and they're not very obvious. And I had several shades of a solid red, and this is the one that I thought matched the flocking the closest. And I made a really quick petticoat to go with it. And I'm really happy that I finally used this cloth to make this dress because I think it worked out really well. I think it has a super vintage feeling to it. This is, of course, the Barbie Made to Move body. The head is from the MGA Toys America's Next Top Model line of dolls, which is one of their lines of roughly Barbie-sized dolls. I know MGA tends to do more brat-sized, or odd things like Lala Loopsy, but Barbie-sized. This was Skylar. I darkened her eyes because I like dark brown eyes, pale brown eyes. Not my dolls, thanks. Not usually. I do make some exceptions. There's one coming up later. Anyway, happy with this. And another thing that I'm working on, actually I'm getting ahead of myself. I was going through my doll clothes, and this dress is a dress from a pattern that I shared actually about 5-6 years ago, intended for female action figures, which are a little bit bulkier than Barbie. So I initially tried this dress on a Curvy doll, and it fit her really well, just a little bit off. So I thought I would remake that, and I'm going to get to that doll in a moment. Remake this dress and make the darts a little narrower, shallower, to see if that would give just enough room to fit the curvy body better. And it turns out I will put a link up to this. I know I'm starting to ramble. It fits really well just by making the front darts shallower. I probably could have left the back darts alone and it would have fit the curvy body great. All you need to do is when you see the pattern, you'll see the darts. I put the word dart, the widest part of each dart. And instead of putting the markings, I mark cloth by sticking a pin through the pattern and then transferring it on the back and then pinning it, making darts. Instead of putting the pins through the dots on either side of the widest part of the dart, put one pin inside the letter D and the other pin between the R and T, and that's all you need to do to make it shallower to fit the curvy body. But anyway, this is actually the first time I'm showing this dress on the tall body. I had this head on this older, very floppy-armed Fashionista's articulated body. But I kind of realized that even though I prefer articulation, I like this head on the tall body. And part of what made me realize that is because I got another Curvy, and I realized, yes, I like articulation, but this other Curvy is great even without articulation, so that made me decide to give a chance to the tall body without articulation. Who knows, I might get a petite before the year is up. Depends on if there's a petite that really appeals to me. Which, the one with the purple and blue hair is very close to appealing to me, but I don't like the fact that there are the gray or silver streaks of hair in that hair. That's my only excuse for not getting her. I might get her. Anyway, I'm rambling again. I got this Curvy. I got Zigzag. Zig and Zag. Which the back of the box says is number 50. Everything online says is number 57. I don't know. I love this doll. She's the one with the molded braids. You see I've been playing with her hair, different styles. A lot of people I agreed with seeing her online. I thought these pink lips were really jarring and strangely featureless. And I had been thinking that, sorry, more birds, thinking that if I found her, if I got her, I would probably repaint the lips. But once I got her and started changing her clothes, like putting her into this dress, which this is the dress I made with this pattern, just altering the darts slightly and adding fake piping around the edge, but it's the same pattern. Getting her into stuff with a lot of pink and a lot of pastels, I think really helps lessen the impact of her lipstick. Also, in real life, This lipstick is not as bright as it looks in photos. I don't know if that has something to do with just the way that, digital cameras will pick up certain wavelengths, especially in the purple spectrum, in a way that's completely different from the way human eyes look at them. But really, these lips are not as bright in real life, and again, like I said earlier, I really don't like pale brown eyes, but I do like the way her eyes and her hair are the same color. I think that's an interesting design feature. So I just adore this doll, even without articulation. Of course, if we ever happen to get curvy bodies with articulation in this skin tone, yeah, I probably will recapitate her that way. But for now, really, really happy with this doll. So since this pattern that I had made for female action figures fit this body pretty well, I decided to go through my old stash of female action figure patterns to see if there was anything else that I might be able to use for the curvy body. I know in general the female action figure bodies, it's not a one-to-one with curvy. Like when I made the jeans pattern for curvy, which might make those to sell, I'm probably not going to share it, at least not yet, just because I could sell it. Anyway, pulling out my old female action figure patterns for jeans, they still needed to have width added for the curvy body. So it's not perfect that I can't just pull out all the female action figure stuff, have it fit for curvy. So I've been going through my female action figure patterns, looking for things that can probably be easily altered to fit curvy. Like I said, if there's a skirt involved like this, then there's probably going to be a little bit looser fit. And things I'm going to work on, as you can see, my horrible working patterns, is getting a simple tank dress made out of stretchy knits. And I have this old bodysuit pattern that actually came from one of my early experiments with scanning the... If you sew, you get a instruction sheet with your patterns, and on that instruction sheet will be pictures of all your pattern pieces that are in scale with each other. And in the 90s, I was experimenting with scanning those little pictures and scaling them up to fit Barbie. Most of those experiments didn't work at all, but this one did. So I am going to work on this to see how many changes I need to do to get it to fit the curvy body. So then you will have a curvy leotard, bodysuit. So hopefully that's something people want. And then another pattern I found, this is not curvy. It's actually a pair of wrap pants. Now this, I used to have a book of, I think it was Vogue crafts from the 1970s, late 70s, like disco era. And one of the things was this really simple pair of wrap pants that I thought that would be cool for dolls. And I made a generic sketch of what the pattern might be, tried it once, it didn't work. Since I finally found it again, I decided I would put some effort into making it work. Maybe, if it can be made to work, and share that. But again, it's something that I need to work on. Another thing from the female action figure patterns that I decided to work on, and this is one that I just about have it down, and I will turn it into something to share soon, is this is actually underwear. And I had made several attempts. The biggest problem I had with this pattern, and I actually have had this problem with this pattern the whole time I've been using it to make female action figure underwear, is that the size of the front center and the size of the back center after the seams would never be the same. So I would just, see which one's the worst of these. I would say, close enough, and make it work when I was sewing it. And I don't know if you can see how those don't line up at all. But close enough for me. But if I'm sharing this pattern for other people, I want to make it work. So I tried again, and I tried again. And finally, I know this isn't perfect, but I know the reason this is off is because I didn't sew things. I didn't have the stretch lace aligned properly with the edge, so I said, all right, this is good enough, this is close. So I got this good, and then I know not everybody has this kind of stretch lace. I looked online. Joann Fabric has 3/8 inch underwear elastic stretch lace. I forget exactly what they call it. Apparently they have it in packages on the Notion wall. I've never seen it because I've never looked for it. I actually found this in a Ben Franklin, in a town my hometown. They had a reputation as being a great place to buy quilting calicos. So they had this really nice cloth department, and they had some things though that they were obviously ordering from what's called a jobber. And what a jobber does is they go to places that have actually made clothing and interior decorating soft goods and anything soft, and they say, hey, what do you have left that you haven't used? We'll buy it for, pennies on the dollar. And then they resell this to like if you've ever remember the Walmart Dollar Yard cloth tables, or even the Joann Fabrics current red tag clearance section where they have weird stuff that you've never seen in the store anywhere else ever, that's because it's been bought from a jobber who bought it directly from clothing companies or interior decorating companies or any place that makes stuff out of cloth. Anyway, these trims that I bought in that Ben Franklin, I'd say they obviously came from someplace making underwear, because even though this light pink is fairly inoffensive, there were also some like beige and ecru scout laces that I would wager probably ended up on bras at some point in time. So I know that stumbling into 10 or more yards of stretch lace that you can use for dolls is something not too many people are going to do. So I said I found Joann Fabric has them in packages. There's a website called Deb's Lace that I have ordered from in the past. Not this stuff because I don't need it, but they have it. And there's a place called Lace Heaven that I've ordered from in the past. And they have although I think they are as likely to call it lingerie elastic as stretch lace. So looking for lingerie elastic might help you find other sources. But it's not impossible to find this kind of lace. But since not everyone is going to have it immediately, I went ahead, I'm going to get a little rude with this doll, and tried it with just regular old elastic, 3/8 of an inch elastic. And they're not perfect because I made them really fast right before shutting things off to go to bed, so I was kind of tired. But still, they fit. And it is an option, I would say. Well, you can use narrower laces too, that would probably work. And it would even be an option to just fold the edges over and zigzag them without elastic at all. If your cloth is stretchy enough, they would probably stay on with no problem. But I honestly find it a lot easier, even though on the surface, intuitively, it seems like it would be more work to sew two things together instead of just fold one thing over and sew it. It's like I use facings a lot too. I never just turn a neckline. I always have a facing. I don't know if I'll be able to show it in the video. You see where there's some of this cloth sewn right side together then flipped over to finish the neckline, because I don't have patience for turning tiny little curves and sewing them down. I have the patience to cut out a whole extra piece of cloth and then sew that and clip this. You have to clip the seam allowance or it won't work. And flipping it over and getting a smooth edge, which is what I did for this too. So it might seem easier to just fold over and stitch the edges yourself, but trust me, for me at least, it's a lot easier to sew another piece to it and then flip that over and then sew. And so, yeah, I will try to get this pattern digitized and made for other people to use and pretty and with instructions. And my instructions, I'm afraid, are going to have vague things like Stretch as you sew, making sure to stretch the elastic more than the cloth. I don't know if that will make sense to people who aren't me, but it makes sense to me. And these are free patterns, so I'm sorry you get what you pay for. Alright. And I think that's caught up with doll stuff. I did get my second Dolly Inventorio video posted. That should be the video right before this one on my stream. And I know me. I know that I want to sit down and get them all done at once. I have 10 more recorded. But I also know if I do it that way, then I will be miserable before I'm finished. So I'm still learning to pace myself in all things. So I'm pacing myself. I'm going to try to do one a week. I'll see how that schedule goes. I'm still not used to doing videos, even though I've been doing, well, this is what, my 26th one-on-one doll video like this. I'm still not used to doing videos, so my time management is not that great. Because, like I said, I've been on a sewing kick, so I want to sew all the doll things. I still have my piles of things I want to sew into human-sized clothes back there. And I've been wanting to make jewelry again, and part of the doll inventory video is the music, which is, because I'm stubborn, it's my own music, which means I get into my archives of the MIDI stuff I've been messing with for the last 20-some years, and I get distracted by that. Because I have fun with this stuff, but I need to focus so I can get more done to share with you. Because, you know, they say do art for yourself, which, yes, is true. I was doing all this doll stuff before there was a big internet culture. But if I can help out other people, if I can inspire other people, and yes, if somebody says, oh, hey, that's cool what you've done, that makes me happy too. Yes, I'm doing it for myself, but I'm doing it for other people too, because for me, that makes me happy. So I hope I can make you happy again next week. Thanks.